Professor Arjun Sengupta, Professor Kenneth King, Dr. Santosh Mehrotra, colleagues from Institute of Applied Manpower Research of Planning Commission, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a great pleasure as well as an honor to be here this morning. And at the very outset, I would like to congratulate Dr. Santosh Mehrotra and the team from Institute of Applied Manpower Research for having taken this initiative to organize this international workshop on skill development, policy learning and exchange in collaboration with Network for Policy Research, Review and Advice on Education and Training, Geneva. Since my guru, Professor Arjun Sengupta, is going to give a keynote address, I'm going to be very brief in my opening remarks. I can only say that it's a great honor to inaugurate this international workshop on skill development, policy learning and exchange. I want to share just a few thoughts as a backdrop to help set the tone for this two-day workshop. Let me start with the India's growth scenario. We all know that 1991 was the lowest ebb in India's economic growth and development, and after that we changed the policy stance, and in the last 18 years we have come really a long way in terms of achievement of economic growth. We all know that when we started the planned economic development in 1951, for first more than 3 decades, our average rate of economic growth was only 3.5%. After the 1991 crisis, with the metamorphic changes that were introduced after the crisis, economic growth has not looked back. In fact, first 10 years of reform, 1992 to 2002, first 10 years of reform, our growth rate accelerated to an average of 6%. 2002 to 2005, it accelerated further to 8% per year. And 2005 to 2008, it accelerated to 9% plus. And India emerged as the second fastest growing country in the world, next only to China. In September 2008, when the global financial crisis hit everywhere, including India, there was a talk about Indian economy going into recession. It did not. It just shaved off a little bit, a couple of percentage points of growth. And the first year after that, that is 08-09, we posted growth rate of 6.8%. And this year, the second year after the crisis, the year 9-10, the last financial year, we are all talking about 7.2% growth, but we all know that it is more likely to be 7.5%. And next year, we're talking about 8% plus, possibly 8.5%. This financial year, we're talking about 8.5% growth. And in the final year of the 11th five-year plan, that is 011-012, we're talking about 9% growth again. So this is also, not only there has been a very sharp acceleration of growth under the reforms that were initiated after the crisis of 1991, but it has also shown, the recent experience has also shown the tremendous degree of resilience that Indian economy has achieved and earned over these 18, 19 years of reforms. And today, we are talking about achieving 10% growth in none too distant future. In the final year of the 11th plan, we're talking about 9% plus, and then thereafter, in 4 or 5 years, we're talking about achieving 10% growth. So this is clearly a story of a continuous acceleration of growth and a great degree of resilience. While achieving today, what it seems is that achieving 10% growth is not all that difficult. The kind of momentum that we have earned is going to take us to 10% plus growth. The question is, are we going to be able to sustain that kind of growth? That is a more difficult question to address. And it is my considered view that we'll be able to sustain the double-digit growth. Achievement will be relatively easy, but sustaining is going to be difficult. And it's my considered view that achieving that, sustaining 9% plus or even 10% plus growth rate is going to be possible only if there is a comprehensive metamorphic change in 2 sectors. One is the education sector and second is skill development. Skill development, both of these sectors they have always been important, but today their importance is far more than ever before. Let me focus on skill development per se. In our country, for a long time, skill development it largely meant development of shop floor or manual skills. The NSS 61st round results show that among the persons of the age group 15 to 29, the number of percentage of people who actually get formal vocational education, according to that round, NSS 61 round, was only 2%. And about 8% of our youth get non-formal vocational training in terms of on-the-job training and the like, which means that most of our young persons, the youth, actually enter the workforce without any kind of vocational training. This proportion, 2% formal vocational training and 8% non-formal vocational education on-the-job training, is one of the lowest in the world. Elsewhere in the world, this proportion is very high. Korea, for example, 96%, Germany 75%, Japan 80%, and UK 68%. Against this backdrop, our vocational training and development looks pathetically low, and that is why there is a real danger that if we do not put our skill development sector in order, there is a very strong likelihood of the demographic dividend that we keep talking about turning actually into a demographic nightmare. So we need not overemphasize the importance of skill development. Vocational training and skill development happens to be very, very important. Now, government is aware of that. When we talk about demographic dividend, harnessing this demographic dividend would mean very important metamorphic, really, overhaul of the higher education system as well as skill development mechanisms and skill development system. In India today, there are 17 different ministries of the central government which are imparting vocational training. And roughly speaking, today they are imparting vocational training they have a capacity of imparting training to about 3.1 million persons every year through polytechnics and ITI. Clearly, this effort is not sufficient given the number of entrants to the workforce is 12.8 million per year. Further, there are institutional limitations in the prevailing system. One is the unorganized sector, and Sengupta will, I'm sure, with his great report, he will talk a lot about that. In the unorganized sector, which constitutes about 93% of the workforce, is hardly supported today by any structured system of acquiring skills. In fact, by and large, skill formation takes place through informal channels only, with no linkages whatsoever with formal education. No wonder, alarmingly, 38.8% of our Indian labor force is illiterate, and about 80% of our workforce in rural and urban areas does not possess any identifiable marketable skills. And it is expected that in the aging global economies, this is happening at a time when demographic dividend is fortuitously available with us. We all know the average age of India is going to be 24, and by 2020 it will be 29. At which point China will have the average age of 37, USA will have average age of 37, median age of 37, Western Europe will have average age of 42, and Japan will have